That says, we'll start from Hi Safta. There was this old lady. Lamed Aleph. Hi Safta was this old lady that Soila Kameda Rav Nachman, who came in front of Rav Nachman. Amrullah, she said to him, Reish Galusa v'chulu Rabban de Reish Galusa. The Reish Galusa and all the Rabban who are part of the household of the Reish Galusa. The Sukkah Gzula Al Yasi, they're sitting in a stolen sukkah. They stole my wood. And they're building a sukkah with it. They built a sukkah and it's stolen. She's claiming they're not yet to their mitzvah. Succah, she kept screaming, "V'loy ashkach ba Rav Nachman." Rav Nachman didn't pay attention to her. Amrullah, she said to him, "Itza, a lady referring to herself, the Habalei Lagua, who her father had to himself, Tlasmei v'tamni sori abdi, 318 servants. Succah Kamaichu cries in front of you, V'lesh achisuba, and you don't pay attention to her." Like, how's that shaykh? Avraham Avinu had so many servants, and he took care of his servants, took care of his family, uplight. How come you don't care? So he didn't respond to her. Amar Lu, he said to his Talmidim around him, Rav Nachman said to them, Pi'isehi, this lady's a crier. Ve'en lo elo demei eitzim bavad, all she has is the value of the wood. Obviously, they have to pay back. They stole, but they don't have to pay back the actual beam or wood. They could just pay back the money. Amar Ravina says, Ravina Haikshur de Mitalalta, the Gzula, this beam that's stolen, that's in a sukkah, someone put into their sukkah. Abdi the Rabbanah Takana, the Rabbanah made a fix for him. Mishum Takana is Marish, because of the Takana of Marish, which means a cross beam. Because cross beams are very hard once you put them into a structure to make the Ganav return it, even if there's no Yish, he's not going to ever do it. So because of the Marish, anytime you have a beam or something like that in the sukkah, you don't have to. You just give back the money. That's Ravina's chiddush. Pshita ma'ishna meitzim. Why is it different than wood? We just said, Rav Nachman, everyone just said this about wood. You might say eitzim shchichi. Wood is very common. But a beam is not so shchich. It's hard for, even if you pay money, where's you going to go get a beam from? Maybe no. I need back the actual beam. Kamash malon. Then no, you give him back the money. That's all. This is only during the 7 days of Sukkot. But once Sukkot is over, this after the 7 days, you have to return it as is. You have to give back that beam. If you connect it with cement, the guy made a strong sukkah. Even after 7 days, you give him just the money for the house that he built. He does not have to return the actual item.
But if he gave the money to Shiva?
He gave money to Shiva, right? I think if he did it to Shiva, you'd be fine. Yeah.
They can't run back.
I don't think so. I think at that time, that's the U.S. I would assume so. I could be wrong. That's what I assume. Okay, this is what we're up to right now. And we're up to, back to the sugya of Dalad Minim specifically and how they look. Just before we start the next Gemara, just look back at the Mishnah. Just to look back on Chavtes Amabez, the beginning. We had Lulav HaGazel VaYavish Pasa. And we spent a long time on Lulav HaGazel, a stolen Lulav. Different Pshatim. First of all, it has to be yours. First of all, it has to be a Mitzvah Ba'aver. It could be a Mitzvah Ba'aver problem. Question if it applies the whole Yom Tov, just the first day. These are all discussions we had in the Gemara. But the second case is VaYavish. A Lulav that is dry is Pasa. Now, why is a Lulav that's dry Pasa? What's wrong with the dry Lulav? So either there's a general concept called Zek Keli Van Veil. We say every day in davening in Azasher, this is my God, and I'm going to beautify. I'm going to beautify it. What does it mean beautify Hashem? I'm going to beautify myself in front of Him with mitzvahs. So there's a concept of having beautiful mitzvahs. However, there's another reason to have a beautiful dalamina. Yeah.
There's no in there. Again. Still get the mitzvah.
Oh, so some people don't like this makar because that's a general thing for hiddur mitzvah. Keep us asking, why would it make a pasa? It's a little bit too extreme. Everywhere you should have a nice shofar, you should have a nice base madrash, everything should be nice. It's not pasa. So other Rishonim say the makar is because it says in the pasuk, you should take a pre-eitz hadar. You should take a beautiful fruit from a tree, referring to the esrog, and because it says by the esrog that it should be hadar, which means beautiful, but hadar is not really the perfect word for beautiful. I think the right word for hadar, if you look at is like splendor. We'll call it beautiful, but it's different. It's a little bit different. It's like a splendor. It should be like a splendorous esrog. We learn from there that all the dalaminim should have this beautiful look. Okay, that is the makar that yavish is possible. And the Mishnah doesn't bring anybody that argues on this. A dry lulav doesn't look nice, and therefore dalmin have to be beautiful. Says the Gemara, Tana, it's a brisa. Okay, the brisa says yavish. You have does not say which min, by the way. It doesn't say it's esrig. Doesn't say if it's the lulav. It just says if you have a yavish, one of the dalminim, pasal, no good. The Rebbe Yehuda, machsher. Rebbe Yehuda says it's kosher. Okay, we now have a machlokes. Never had this before. We had a Mishnah that seemed to be very clear that yavish was pasal. Comes along Rebbe Yehuda. Now they were discussing in the Mishnah a lulav. This brisa does not say what it's talking about. Just referring to one of the dalminim, maybe all dalminim. I don't know. Yavish is pasal. Rebbe Yehuda says no, it's kosher.
Who's this brisa?
This brisa is in the Gemara. Yeah, no other place in the world. Just here. A lot of times you have the Seres Shas where you find this brisa. Nowhere to be found. Just here. Says the Gemara. You need an Amar. Whenever you have a brisa that's something like this, we need an Amar to help us out. Come Amar Rava, says Rava. Machlokes belulav. This machlokes that they're having, these two Tanaim, is referring to the lulav. It is not referring to the esrog. Okay, it's referring to the lulav. The Rabbanan, Savri the Rabbanan that say Yavish is pasal. You know why they say that? Makshinon lulav laesrog. We make a hekesh. Hekesh means the two things are next to each other. We make a comparison. We make a comparison, the lulav laesrog to the esrog. It's a hekesh. Take a look in your Torah Arashon on the bottom right of your Gemara by the Aleph. I'll read the pasuk inside so you see it, a famous pasuk. Ulakachtem lachem bayam rishon. You should take on the first day pre-eitz hadar, a beautiful fruit from a tree, referring to the esrog. It's the only one that says hadar. Kapais tamarim, referring to lulav. Vanaf eitzav is referring to hadassim. Va'arbinoch referring to aravas. And you should rejoice in front of Hashem for 7 days. So it only says hadar by the esrog. Do we compare the lulav or any of the dalminim to the esrog? The Rabbanan said that, yeah, there's a hekesh. They're next to each other. Whenever you have a hekesh, you're automatically darshan. So the same way esrog has to be hadar, a lulav has to be hadar. When I say a lulav here, I'm not just referring to the lulav, it's referring to the hadassim and the ravas as well. Okay? Machlokes belulav. The Rabbanan, Savi the Rabbanan hold Makshina lulav l'esrog. We compare the lulav to the esrog. Ma esrog by hadar, the same way esrog needs to be beautiful. Av lulav by hadar. Even the lulav needs to be beautiful. Okay, what about Rebbe Yehuda? Rebbe Yehuda savar, no. Yehuda's loy Makshina lulav l'esrog. Don't compare the lulav to the esrog. Although they're the same pasuk, don't compare them to each other. You know why Rebbe Yehuda says this? Rebbe Yehuda holds, you know we say every day in davening, Rishmo Leimer, good Gimel Midah Shater, I don't know if everyone says it here. Just the last one. But anybody know why you say that? People think it's karbanas. I don't say karbanas. It has nothing to do with karbanas. There's brought down halacha to learn every day in the morning, a little bit of chumash, some mishnayos, and some brises or gemara. So we learn Ezu Mekayman, which is Mishnayos, which is not one machlokes in the entire Ezu Mekayman, and we say Rabbi Shmuel Eimer, which is a brisa, so it's more like another chelik of Torah. And the reason why we chose those is one talks about kachim and also the machlokes, and Rabbi Shmuel is how to darshan the Torah. So it's a very important thing. I'll just say what I do. I tell this to people, and they're like, "Wow, that's something I could do." I don't say the whole thing. I'll tell you what I do. I do one Mishnah. Do one, they're very short. Learn it once in your life, and every day do a different Mishnah. I something do as a Mekayman, something to do about the Oila, I do the Chatas, and Rabbi Shmuel Eimer, I do one of the Yud Gimel, I say, Rabbi Shmuel Eimer, you go, Midah Tana Jasmine, Zera Shavah. You don't have to learn, it's not like you learn nothing, you learn a little bit. So it's something, I tell us to be like, wow, like I never thought, so like Rabbi Shmuel Eimer is like long, Ezra Mekayman is very long, do one Mishnah, and one of the Yud Gimel Midas. What?
Say it every day.
He's saying it's not so long. Yeah. You say it every day? Wow.
Maybe
Anybody here said it? Rabbi Shmuel. Right. 8 minutes?
Maybe.
That's the one for people.
Yeah,
It's a quarter of davening.
yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah.
Building up Sigurd Zimmer.
Yeah. So you hear my Eitzah? One.
According to Yehuda, then why shouldn't you make the bracha on the Esrog? If that's the on Lulav, right?
A lulav, lulav is the tallest, it's the most.
Yeah, but if we're talking Hadar, what's the Ikr Hadar?
Hadar is just a component of Esrog. It's not necessarily makes it the elite of the Dal Minim. So Rabbi Yehuda says, if we don't have a Kabbalah, all the drushes in the Torah, we have some sort of Kabbalah from our Rebbeim. You can't just make up a Hekesh. So Rabbi Yehuda did not have his Kabbalah to make such a Hekesh. The only one that you're allowed to do on your own is a Kal V'Chomer. Kal V'Chomer is allowed. Hekesh is not allowed. Now taste is, okay, not every Rishon loves it. That's how Rashi learns why Rabbi Yehuda doesn't like it. So Rabbi Yehuda says, we do not make a comparison, the lulav to the Esrog. Abel ba'esrog, when it comes to the esrog, divrei Yaakov, everybody, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabban, everybody holds hadar be'inon. You need to have a beautiful esrog. So we're coming out that the machloikis about a yavesh is only referring to the lulav. When it comes to an esrog, everybody agrees that it has to be hadar. It has to be beautiful. Frek the Gemara. Gemara is a kasha. Ubelulav loy boy Rabbi Yehuda hadar. Is this true that according to Rabbi Yehuda, a lulav does not have to be beautiful? Is that true? But it's not. We learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer. Rabbi Yehuda says, Yagdenu milmala. You have to tie from up top. What is that? Look back at our old Mishnahs, our Mishnah. Okay, Chavtesim Abayz, the first Mishnah of the parak. One of the things the Mishnayis cases on the third line of the Mishnah was nifrdu olav. Olav means leaves. You have a lulav that the leaves started separating. Okay, they started separating. They could be pushed back, but they separate. They could be pushed, but they separate. They're not hard. They haven't hardened yet. So the Mishnah says, if nifrdu olav, if the leaves have spread, kosher, it's kosher. So Rabbi Yehuda argued, and Rabbi Yehuda said, no, yagdenu milmala. Only if you tie it. You take a piece of something and you tie it on top. How is the Yehuda shita? So the Gemara asks a question. Lulav, Yehuda doesn't need hadar. But now we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda says, yagdenu milmala, to tie it on top. My time, but what's the reason? Lav mishum debay hadar. Is it not because you need to be beautiful?
But that's just the opposite question.
What?
If you hold that as kosher without tying it, and it's not beautiful, you still say it's kosher.
Say it again. What?
We're saying that you have to tie it to make it beautiful.
Yeah.
So if it's
Obviously, you need to be beautiful. Lulav.
right. So, but if it's not tied,
Yeah.
it gives the din of not being beautiful.
Yeah.
But we still say kosher.
Good argues.
Really good argument.
Yeah.
What about Rabbanan that say here?
We're asking, but the Tanakhama, the Rabbanan, they hold that that's not such a negative situation. Yeah. But Yehuda's super fancy, or Yehuda needs you to tie up your lulav. Zok Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is saying, Yagdenu milmala, probably it's because he holds Avadar. So the Gemara answers, Loy, no, you got it wrong. It's not because of Hadar. Kidiktani Taima, it's because of what it says. There's a Bryce that says the reason why. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Tarfin, Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Reb Tarfin. It says the pasuk Kapais Tamarim. The word for lulav in the Torah is a Kapais Tamarim. Kapais Tamarim means a branch. Kapais means a branch. Tamarim means of a date tree. But they darshan, if you look at the word Kapais, there's no nekudas in the Torah. So there's a way of darshing in the Torah is, if I get stick in different nekudas, I can change the meaning of the word. It's a form of darshaning. So he says, it says kapes tomorrow, but you can read it kafos. Okay, I stuck in my own nekudas. After the kapes tomorrow, I wrote the word. I wrote a kamatz and a kaf, and the fei and a u. What's it called? Shurk. What's it called? I don't know what the letters are. Kafos. Kafas means tied up. It needs to be a lulav that the leaves are not spread. The lulav has to be kafas, connected on top, tied up. That's if you don't. Not yud hadar. It's specific rule to the lulav. It has to be kafas. Has to be always.
You have to tie it.
To tie it up, yeah, it has to be kafos. Has to be tied up. You can't have a lulav that leaves are spread.
Kafus means tied?
Kafos means tied up. Yeah. It says in the Gemara Makkos, that when you want to whip somebody, you're kaifish shnei yadav. You tie his two hands to the pillar, and you whack him. Kafos means to tie up. So lulav needs to be tied up. That's how Yehuda darshan. V'im haya parud, and if it was separate, yichpeseni to tie it up.
So it doesn't have to actually be tied.
It does, according to Yehuda.
What do you mean? The ends.
If it's parud, if it's separating, yichpeseni, you got to tie it up together.
Well, the manashah has to be tied.
Well, it has to be done. No, you don't have to tie. If the leaves go straight up with the
Then you wouldn't say it.
you're good to go. But if the leaves start spreading, no, it has to be kafos. Has to be tied up. That you don't see the base, you don't see the shedra, you don't see the spine of the lulav. It's totally covered by the leaves.
The Gemara that I thought that was going on top.
On hadar, right? No, so Yehuda does not need hadar by lulav.
So Yehuda in our Mishnah says Yagdan Ramal is only Shemar Karfin.
Yeah.
They have to be tied up.
Yeah. Yehuda name of
In the Havana, that Thomas would make it harder.
No, it's just it's exeris also. That you,
When you have couples,
it makes it more beautiful.
it
Yeah.
makes it harder.
Yeah.
In the action point, you can be not harder. You
Yeah.
can make it beautiful with something else.
Yeah.
Allows the music.
Yeah, that's what they thought. Teretz is not a tzadar, it's a new xeris hakasim. It has to be fully tied up.
Shot that way.
Right. Gemara is another question. The loy by hadar again. Gemara is not going on Rabbi Yehuda. This question is going on the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon said you don't need to have hadar. The Gemara is questioning that. Is that true? You don't need hadar? But it's not. We learned in the Mishnah. Sorry. I read it wrong. It's a question of Yehuda again. It's a question of Yehuda. You tell me, Rabbi Yehuda, that a lulav doesn't have to be beautiful? But it's not. We looked at the Mishnah. This is a Mishnah we're going to learn later. Ein oigdin es lulav ela b'minay. Okay? You're not supposed to, oigdin means to bind. You're not supposed to tie up and bind a lulav. When we say the word lulav here, we're not referring to just the lulav, we're referring to the hadassim and the aravis and the lulav, which is called a hishana. That three together is called a hishana. I wrote on top of lulav, I wrote a hishana. It's not referring just to lulav. You're not, ain't oidinus a lulav, you don't tie up the lulav, ella, rather with what do you tie it up? Biminoy, with its own type. Okay, you're not supposed to, when you take your lulav and your dasim and your aravis and you want to bind it together, oh, let me go get a rubber band. Oh, let me go get a piece of string. No. The Rabbi Yehuda holds you only bind it with its own min, its own type. You can't bind it with something else. Okay? Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. My time. What's his reason? Lav mishum deboy hadar. Is it not because you need hadar? Right? Why is it? Why would you need to be its own species of what you tied up with? Because it looks much nicer if the lulav is tied up with like a piece of string of a lulav leaf, and taking some random string or rubber band. It's much nicer when it's tied up with one of the minim. But if it's not one of the minim, not kishma. It doesn't look so nice. So how can you tell me Yehuda doesn't need hadar? Sounds like you do need hadar. The Gemara answers, no. The Amar Rava, because Rava says, afilu b'siv, va'afilu be'ikr de dikla. Rava says, you don't need to use a lulav leaf. You could even use siv. Siv is something called ivy. I-V-Y. Okay? Va'afilu and even be'ikr de dikla. Even the trunk of the lulav. Take a look for 1 second at the picture. For 1 second. Page Lamed Ches. In your pictures. Page Lamed Ches. First of all, just to show you, you have an esig yavish that's possible. You see a dry esig? That's what it looks like after a whole year. Picture Yutes. is the rule, Ein oidin es a lulav ela b'minoi. You only tie up a lulav with its min. That koitshkala, it's called a koitshkala, is lulav leaves. That's what Yehuda needs. You have to tie it up with its own min. So you might think because it's beautiful. The Gemara answers no. You could even use sieve or ikr dedikla. Look at the picture chav. That's a lulav. That's a lulav tree. And sieve, you see the aleph? Shows you in the picture if you look closely. That like weird stuff going around the lulav tree, the base, like that cord, very cordy type of material. That's called sieve. It's called ivy. And bays is ikr dedikla, is the actual trunk of the tree. You take strips of bark and you can wrap your lulav with that. So when we say if you use the lulav itself, it's not one of the leaves. You can even use the trunk, or you can use even the ivy.
This is the actual lulav coming out?
Yeah.
Don't think.
No, it grows a little bit and then it like comes out. Yeah. So back to the Gemara. Yeah.
They're not the same min of what the tree is.
It is the min, but do these things look beautiful? They don't look beautiful. It doesn't look so nice. You have a lulav and you take bark, or you take ivy and put it around it. It's not so nice. Not to get a rubber band. The lulav leaves.
Why would we not
nice.
rubber? Not regular.
Rav is answering. The Gemara
For
says,
Rabbi Yehuda?
yeah. So back to the Gemara. The Gemara says, Loi, no. The Amar Rava, because Rava says, Afilu b'siv, even ivy, Afilu b'ikr the dikla, even the trunk of a dikla, the date tree. You can even use that stuff, and that's not so nice. Ve'ela my time at Rabbi Yehuda. So what is the reason of Rabbi Yehuda? Hasam over there. What's the reason? The kasavar is because he holds lulav tsarich eget. A lulav needs to be bound. Not everybody holds lulav needs to be bound. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion a lulav needs to be bound. Halacha l'maisa for him. V'i mayis mina achrina. If you bring a different species like a rubber band, hablu chamisha minin. It will be a problem. It'll be 5 types of minin. He holds eget is so fundamental to the mitzvah. It must be bound with something. If you take a rubber band or a piece of string, you now have 5 minim. Esrog, lulav, hadas, ravas, and a rubber band. Can't do that. It has to be from one of the lulav min. It can be from any of the minim.
Does anybody argue?
Yeah. You can even use ivy. It doesn't even look nice. Not because that's look nice. It just has to be from the min of the tree. And it's so fundamental to the mitzvah. So the Gemara of Machlokes, everybody knows the etzek has to be beautiful. The Shaila according to Yehuda, the Shaila Tanoim, does a lulav and a das merov need to be beautiful? Rabbana hold, yes, has to be beautiful. It says the pasuk hadar. And it applies to all of them. Rabbi Yehuda says no. The Gemara challenged Rabbi Yehuda, and we answered up the challenges that it's not because of hadar. It has to be kafus because it's the xer sakasim. The leaves have to be up against the shedra. Why do you need to be its own min? Because a lulav needs to be bound. Once it needs to be bound, if you have a different min, it's going to be about taisiv. You have extra minim, and therefore it's no good. Stop over there.
So theoretically, you take hadas and anybody.
I think.